Hello, professionals. My name is Rico Aladdin and I'm the founder of Professional Lunch. Today, we have the president of NDSCS here in the studio for a very special professional lunch. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Rico. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Please tell the professional lunch audience who you are and what you do.
So I'm Rod Flanigan. I'm currently the president of North Dakota State College of Science, or NDSCS. Some people call it Science School.
Okay.
So in my position, I deal with a lot of different things,
Okay.
and it changes minute to minute.
Wonderful.
Everything from academics, student affairs. Yesterday we had training for our first year diesel students. So we had a bunch of different companies out there with heavy equipment, and they were training students how to drive heavy equipment. So we do a lot of different things. It changes every moment.
Wonderful. You've been in the industry 25 years. You own your own business, and then now you're president of NDSCS of the college. Now, give us a brief summary of your background that led you here to where you are today.
So I put myself through college as a machinist. I actually went to a community college. That's why I love the mission of a community college and what we do, especially at NDSCS, where so many of our students are in CTE programs. But that's my background. I went on to earn a bachelor's degree, earned an MBA, and then after many years earned a PhD. And it was during that time that I decided to get into higher ed, and I was a faculty member at the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and it's kind of the track that I followed. Okay. But during that time, I spent 25, nearly 30 years in industry in different capacities.
Okay. Yeah. So, now that you're the president, why NDSCS? Because you mentioned Nebraska, you have.
Yeah. Well, because of my background, I one of the things that I did in industry is I was in the fluid power industry, and I worked a lot with companies like Caterpillar, Case, John Deere, and that's really what NDSCS does. 75% of our students in Wahpeton are in CTE, career and technical education programs. So, we have programs in HVAC, plumbing, diesel, automotive, auto body, power sports, UAS programs, architectural drafting, construction, dental hygiene, nursing. I mean, we have a wide range and awesome programs in high demand.
Yeah. Wonderful. So now, as the president, please tell me 3 of your most important responsibilities.
Most important? They're all important. I mean, one of the first things I learned when I got here is that we would be entering a legislative session soon after I arrived. So in January, the new legislative session began, and I had to get up to speed quickly with the initiatives that NDSCS was asking for, that we needed. We were facing a significant shortfall in funding, and so that was really important. The legislature was very good to us, gave us a lot of things that we stand in need of, and so now we need to pivot and to implement those things. And so we're now in a new academic year, and so we're moving on many of those initiatives that the legislature helped us with. One of those things includes $20 million that the legislature gave to us to expand our ag program, and also our John Deere diesel program. Those two programs combined are two of our larger programs on campus, and grateful to the legislature for helping us increase the size and scope of those programs. But in addition to that, so part of the requirement for us to, I guess, qualify for that $20 million is we have to raise $1 million before we can move on the project. So right now we are working on raising that money.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the steps that you have taken is to raise that money?
So we have a very strong foundation at NDSCS. Mm-hmm. For a community college, we do some amazing things. We're not the size of NDSU, but we are mighty for the size that we are. And so our foundation has taken the responsibility to reach out to local industry and donors that may be interested in those particular programs to get them to help us with that funding.
Wonderful, wonderful. So starting in 2022 as a president, mm-hmm. what was the first thing you changed when you get there? If you made a change.
I didn't have to change a lot. I would say I would phrase it a little different. Mm-hmm. I focused really on the legislative session. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we did is to really dive into the funding formula and what we could do there to help the institution. So an integral piece of the funding formula is the way they weight CTE programs. And so we began working closely with some of the legislators to see what we could do to weight the CTE programs differently mm-hmm. to help us. Yeah. And then through that process, we were able to get some of that weighting changed in the formula, which was a huge help to NDSCS as well as the other two-year colleges around the state.
Wonderful. So how does your experience in industry shape your job as the president of NDSCS?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So I come at this with a different lens than a lot of other people in higher ed. Okay. And so my questions to faculty are often a little different. My questions to my leadership team are often come at it from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. But it's good. I mean, I've often challenged my leadership team to challenge the status quo. And I too should do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And when we challenge the status quo, it's not to say that what we're doing is bad. We may come up with the same answer, but we should be allowed to question things and to challenge what's happening. Like I said, maybe the answer is what we're doing is the best way. Mm-hmm. Likewise, the answer might be we need to pivot, we need to move, we need to do things a little differently. It's okay. Mm. We need to create the environment where people are allowed to challenge the status quo in a professional and kind way.
Yes, wonderful. So you mentioned team, your leadership team, and one of the things I admire among all leaders is their ability to put together a great team. So what are some of the criteria that that help you put together a good team?
So it's funny. One of the questions I often ask mm-hmm. in any search committee interview of candidates, I often ask, what does it mean to be a good team player?
Wow.
So it's interesting for me to get that perspective and what it means to them to be a good team player. And so then they answer and they often ask me. And to me, there's some key things I look for. People who know that they're not the smartest one at the table, that basically stating that they have a sense of humility. But I also look for people that are really smart, smart intellectually, but smart, I don't know, who have a strong foundation, right? Who have a sense of where they're going and what they need to do, right? So, but they have to have a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
That's difficult to gauge sometimes in an interview, but you can get a sense for what they've done, and then lastly, they have to be willing. Well, I've named them. So having a sense of humility, having a strong work ethic, and really
a strong foundation.
I look for people that are wicked smart. I need people at the table smarter than me.
Yeah.
I need people that I need people. You know, one thing I learned in industry. Industry is a little different than higher ed. In higher ed, we look for consensus, right? Industry doesn't really care about consensus. We look for the right solution.
Yeah.
And that's what I look for. We need the right solution. And I don't care if everybody agrees. Frankly, I need people to disagree with me and to throw out new ideas and solutions. And together we'll come up with a better idea.
Wonderful. Yes, so we're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the things that the president loves about his job. We'll be right back. We are back. We are at the Bison Information Network studio at NDSC today. My guest is President Rod Flanigan. Dr. Flanigan, thank you again for being here. Well, now we get to talk about some of the things that you love about your work. Please tell me, what are some of the things that you love about your work?
So, honestly, I love learning. I love the world of higher ed. I love what we do at NDSCS. I've mentioned, helping students get to the next place in life, whether that's leaving us going to work, leaving us going to a 4-year school. I love being around our faculty, our staff. We have tremendous people on our campus, and I love being around students. I often go eat lunch with students at the cafeteria, and I actually once a month, in fact, just this week, I had students in my office. I buy them lunch, and it gives me an opportunity to talk to them, to chat, and I often ask them, what are we doing right? What do you love about NDSCS, and what can we do better? So those are things I love about our world. I love NDSCS because of the culture that we have. It's a 2-year school with a 4-year feel. If you come to our campus, it really feels like a college campus where most community colleges don't. They're more commuter schools. People drive in, they take class, they go home. That's not us. It's just like a normal campus where people stay on campus. We have strong athletic programs, strong performing arts programs, and students are engaged.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I like when you talk about student success, because this is another part of the conversation that I want to touch on, even though time is not on our side today. But we will talk about that after a little bit. But can you tell me 2 of the biggest accomplishments that you have in your professional life?
Biggest accomplishments?
What would you consider 2 of the biggest accomplishments?
Well, as a parent, it's always nice to see your children grow up and be successful in their own right. So to me, that is success. And my wife and I have some very successful children, so that's nice for us. Professionally, I've had just incredible opportunities. It's hard to describe everything. I mean, early in my career, I was an engineer on the Apache attack helicopter program. That was fun. Eventually I got bored with it.
Okay.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot, and I still reflect on that time. But then as I changed into a different kind of career, it was fun and exciting when I was traveling a lot and doing a lot of work with Caterpillar, Case, John Deere, and it was exciting. I got to help them solve problems that they were having on their equipment, and so I've done some great things. I've got to see a lot of incredible things in my professional life, but I would say it wasn't always successful. One of my first jobs out of college, I was a young engineer and I messed up. I made a big mistake, and I thought it was all over. That was the end of the world. And I walked in. It was a Friday. I'll never forget it. It was a Friday. I came in that weekend to pack up my box, and I knew that I was going to be fired on Monday. I came in on Monday, and my boss wasn't coming to get me, and nothing was happening. And finally, I went to see my boss. I said, "Do we need to talk?" He said, "What for?"
Wow.
I said, "You know why?" He said, "Oh, that. Yeah, come on in." So he sat me down and he said, "What did you think was going to happen?" I said, "I thought I was fired. I thought this was the end." He said, "Well, let me explain something to you." And he explained that so in my little engineering group, there were 6 or 8 of us. And he said, every one of us has made the same mistake.
Oh.
So here's the lesson. Don't ever let that happen again. Got it? I said, got it. He said, so go do your job. And that was the end of it.
Oh my goodness.
And so the message to me was mistakes will happen.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you respond?
Yeah.
And I think the message that I used to share with my students when I was teaching was, it's not if you make a mistake, but when you make the mistake, how are you going to respond? And do you have enough determination to get past it, to learn, to grow, and to move on?
Wow.
So
this is good. That's a very good piece of advice. I really like that. And although we're gonna talk about student success, and I think that at the end there, but that's really good. I'm glad you share that. So, and before the show, we were kind of chatting about this best experience you've had in the college so far.
The best experience.
Yeah.
Oh.
At NDSCS.
Honestly, my wife and I have absolutely loved Wahpeton and NDSCS. But I have to say, our NDSCS has very strong athletic programs, but we've never won a national championship, ever.
Oh.
Until last May.
Oh. Okay.
And last May, our women's softball team made it to the World Series of softball for NJCAA Division III. So they made it. They took the trip out to Syracuse, New York. My wife went out to watch, and we lost. We had to come up through the consolation bracket, and we fought our way back. And our young ladies fought hard, and they actually won the national championship game.
Ooh, nice.
It's a remarkable story with some remarkable young ladies and the coaches. and it was just fun for my wife and I to be part of it. And then we came back to Wahpeton, and to watch our city, the mayor of the city, who is also a part-time volunteer firefighter, he organized the firefighters. They met our team as they came back. They had to travel by bus all the way to Syracuse, New York and back.
Oh.
And on their way back to town, we met them about 10 miles outside of town, and they got a fire engine escort into town with the sirens blazing, and it was incredible. And then that same day, I found out that many of those young ladies, they didn't get to participate. Those who graduated, they didn't get to participate in graduation because they were in the qualifying tournament in the regional playoffs.
Yeah.
And even before that, some of those young ladies didn't get to participate in high school graduation because of COVID.
Wow.
So they've never had a graduation. So we had a special graduation for 8 young ladies.
Wow.
And it was on our softball field, and it was awesome.
Wow, that must mean a lot to them.
Yeah.
I must say. So, the part of the conversation today is to focus on student success. And every time I'm talking to someone who is in higher ed or someone who is involved in any student life, what is it, how can we help the students? And sometimes we were talking about this, what is success to us may not be success to students. So on that point, do you think college is losing its value in a way?
Is college losing its value? Well, if I thought the answer was yes, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I certainly hope not.
Okay.
I believe in the mission of our institution. I believe in what we do.
Yeah.
I believe in the mission, the value of a 2-year community college. That's why I'm at NDSCS. I love what we do. As I mentioned, 75% of our students are in CTE programs.
Yes.
You hear all the time, our governor talks about it, our legislators, the media talks about building our workforce. We are well positioned at NDSCS to help build and serve the workforce needs of North Dakota.
Yes.
Our challenge, honestly, is getting high school students and even non-traditional students, those that are coming out of the workforce, to come back to school to learn a new skill set, to see the value of what we can do to help them build new skills to enter the workforce and make a really good income. So do I believe that there's still value in higher ed? Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to sell that message to prospective students across not just the traditional high school student looking to go to college, but all of those non-traditional students. The student who may have some college and no degree, or the student who went straight to the military and is now out of the military, or the person who left high school and went straight to work. There's value in what we do.
Yes. Yes. Wonderful. So yeah, and talking about college this way is to see that how certain groups might talk about college, right? And saying that, and it's based on conversations prior to having you on the show, and sometimes you can get that skill here, you can get that skill there, but NDSCS and the tech schools, they really is centered on giving that student the necessary skill that they can go into the job market and create great opportunities for themselves. And I think you make a valid point there. So what's the biggest challenge you face as president of NDSCS?
Wow. I think, honestly, it's enrollment.
Okay.
I mean, the gold standard in North Dakota is student credit hours. That's how the legislative process, that's how the funding formula is built.
Mm-hmm.
It's conditional upon us getting students.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to continually be out in front of students, helping them see the value of coming to NDSCS. We have to get them to see the value of them building their own skill set and becoming a value to their prospective employer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's on us. We have to do a better job of getting in front of those students and sell our story.
Okay, wonderful. So I know time is not on our side here, but we're gonna try to keep it short and maybe two more questions, and then that's that we can kind of go. One of the most difficult decisions that you have made in your career, in the industry, or even as president, most difficult decision that you have made.
Oh. Well, we're faced with difficult decisions every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have student conduct issues that we deal with. We have programs that are struggling with enrollment. We have to deal with decisions like that. We have to deal with academic affair issues, student affair issues. I would say the most difficult decisions I have to make always involve money.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a finite resource. Our financial resources are limited, and we have all these things we want to do. So we have to really decide which thing takes priority.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. Just this week, and over the last several weeks, but this week particularly, my leadership team and I have been wrestling with the priorities that we're going to set for the next legislative session.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about enrollment and money.
Mm-hmm.
And they're difficult decisions because they're all good decisions,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to decide which one can help us drive enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
So those are often tough decisions,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all good. They're good things.
Yeah. So how can students make the most out of college? You know,
I think what I see is the students who get involved, they're engaged.
Mm-hmm.
They're engaged in the campus life. They're engaged in student clubs.
Mm-hmm.
They take on leadership opportunities when they have the opportunity. And for us, those students who engage with industry partners, that's huge, because that's their connection to a job and to their future.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I find is that those students who really engage in the process, they're always more, successful, and I think get more out of the experience.
Oh, wonderful. Dr. Flanigan, thank you so much for being on the show today. We are at the last few minutes of the show. I appreciate you coming on and share a little bit about
Absolutely.
yourself and what you're doing in the community. And usually we ask the guests to share a couple of advice. What advice do you have for early career professionals who are starting their careers right now? So if we have like 30 seconds, what would you tell early career professionals who are starting their careers?
I would tell you to go out and look on a TED Talk by Angela Duckworth.
Mm-hmm.
She conducts research on grit. I've mentioned it briefly,
Mm-hmm.
but grit will get you a long way in life. Work hard, be persistent, and have grit. Don't let people dissuade you that you cannot do it. You can do it. Put your mind to it. Work hard. Get up when you fall, and you'll be successful.
Wonderful. On that note, I think this advice I'm going to keep some for myself because I need that. Thank you again, Dr. Flanigan, for being on the show. Now, this is the part that I tell you, it's up to you to make today a great day. Have a great day.